DJ Flores. With me, as always, my ho- co-host and special advisor, Coach Stacy B. What's up, Coach? How's it going?
It's a wonderful day, man. Everything's good here. How about with you?
Good. Going great. So, how was your weekend? Anything fun over the weekend?
Yeah, pretty laid back weekend. Watched a little football and church with the wife on Sunday, and not a lot else. So it was good. I like those kind of weekends that are a little bit
You know,
laid back every once in a while.
I had so shout out to Cleveland fans. Obviously, Nick Chubb. What that was. I'm guessing, obviously, from your reaction, you've seen it. That
Yeah.
was not. Yeah. So,
I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking for the close up, but if you're on Twitter, it'll find you. So be careful. It's
yes, I agree. And so yeah, I was. Whew, that was something else. So obviously, us Browns fans we are recovering. We got the easy weekend, as I like to call it. Sunday, you don't have to worry about are we losing and how do you feel after that. All Browns fans know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so again, yeah, it was an interesting game, a wild game, a lot of crazy
It
injuries.
was definitely an
Um,
entertaining game. I'll give it that. There was a little bit of everything in that game, and even at the beginning, there was no scoring going on. But I'm like, man, this is really entertaining. This is fun to watch.
I think that's pretty much how I explained the first quarter to Maggie was like, listen, you really didn't miss much by the score, but man, I think maybe 4 turnovers. I don't know. There was a lot of stuff that actually did happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was crazy. But want to get to our special guest. So you got to talk to him a little bit backstage. I can't wait to have you just dig in more. I know you're a techie like us. You're always looking for the next step because you understand that's how this game works.
Yeah,
Wanted
you just
John,
need a little
little
edge here and
edge,
there.
a little edge, yes, and anybody can find it. It just maybe takes a little bit of time or knowing the right person. And Johnny Neal. So got introduced to him from John. We talk, obviously, that's how me and Stacy met as well, John Hewitt. So shout out John. But Johnny was one of those. He showed up at some of our CEO calls, and he had sent some really like for me, I told him, I even told him after the first email, I'm like, dude, I wanted to say something. I was gonna respond after the email, but I kind of nobody else. Just but I wanted to reach out to you personally and tell you. And so, anyways, we made a connection from there. And this kid, we both come from a similar cloth. We come from the home services, the storm chasing. He actually worked for one of the biggest storm chasers out there, where they actually went to different and traveled around. He'll get into a little bit of that. So we shared that experience and the roofing, the home services, how archaic it is, how we think the lead value that they're kind of holding on to because of really how much it's costing them without knowing the new traditional ways and the better ways to get your word out there. And with the advantages that Johnny's going to share with AI, I can't wait to bridge the gap for y'all. I think for me, what Johnny has, what AI is, again, you can either run from it. It's not going anywhere. So you can either,
Might
or
as
you
well
can
run with it.
adapt, change, and run with it. Yeah, and that's what I think with what Johnny has going on.
Yeah,
It
well, not to jump too far ahead, but just
no.
the lead qualification, the data analysis, all the things that you're gonna hear him talk about. It's all the things that a small or medium sized business can really use, and a lot of times it's what we don't have at our fingertips. So I think this is going to be a really good conversation.
On that, I got nothing else, Coach. Let's get it started. Let's bring him out.
You get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece. Don't forget to dream and taste the colors in the air you breathe. It's your masterpiece. Go ahead and feel it all. Don't stop till
right. Johnny, what's up, man? Thank
Hey
you for
guys.
joining us today, giving us some
Yes,
time.
really love the intro and excited to be here. Excited to talk about this thing that is new, right? It's hasn't been seen by many industries, outside of the Fortune 500s, and now just knowing we can grab a hold of that and utilize technology is really incredible. And bear with my nerves here. This is my first podcast, so uh, let's get into some conversation. You guys want to see a
No,
demo?
no,
Or?
no, no worries, no worries. Don't be nervous. Listen, don't be nervous.
Yeah, man, we're easy to talk to here, so just settle in.
Yes. So let's. I mean, going into. I mean, and you nailed it with where you started. And I think Coach was like, "Wow, he is hitting it." But you nailed with where you started. But let's go back to. I mean, where did it all start, and where do you? Because again, we share that similar home service. That's smaller, but you did the storm chasing. So I understand the game there. I understand how that world works. I understand the lead source in that industry for the most part. Um, and how they traditionally ham bone, how they cut a ham bone in half, even though they still don't have to. Again, how they traditionally do things, and the cost that it causes a stress on growth. It causes a stress on a lot of things. Um, uh, where did you connect those dots? Go back and give everybody just a brief, like, your experience and what led to get through bids and bid tech.
Yeah, so at 21 years old, I had a couple years of sales under my belt, and I was traveling around the country selling equipment, and I ran across some roofers, and I wanted to sell them the generators and all of this stuff, and they, told me, "Hey, we're storm chasers, and we help homeowners after storms, maybe hail or hurricanes, tornadoes, etc. And insurance companies pay for those properties to get fixed back to pre-storm condition." And so I was interested, intrigued. I went out and I tested the waters. And, I saw that it was something that I actually enjoyed, helping people and going and traveling and seeing new places and being a support there. And so I jumped in and, of course, got fed to the wolves. you know, uh, go say this, do this, and you'll be successful. And I continued the process. I learned a lot. I think something new every day for the first few years, and continued just to run around the country and respond to these storms. But back then, this is 2006. We didn't have a lot of technology. We were writing things down on pen and paper and clipboards, and just trying to keep track of that. And then you had to email. I think we still had Polaroids then that we were sending off to the carriers to prove damage and, explain the claim there. And, eventually some technology came out, satellite measurements of roofs. So no longer did I have to spend 45 minutes on the roof with a tape measure. I could dial in an address, order up the measurements, get the measurements I needed. But then I had to, create a quote from those measurements by hand using formula. Create a material work order list, again, formulas to account for all the materials. And so I, started looking into spreadsheets and formulating for spreadsheets to assist me and doing some of those things. And, then over time, I got into technology thanks to my dad and his, website I saw when I was a young kid at gospelgifts.com. And so I went to school for some technology, IT network security, and I was very intrigued in tech all along the way. And, seeing the difference between then and now has just opened my eyes to the ability that technology can advance you so much further ahead of where you were even yesterday or even today. And so I look at the industry as a whole, like, I said, there's a major problem here. What can we solve for? And, thousands and thousands of homeowners expressed that they need to get 3 bids. And I evaluated, the landscape there. And I said, well, there's really not an easy way to get 3 bids. Either you're going to Google, searching for companies, calling those companies. Sometimes in a storm situation, they're not even taking calls. Right. So you can't get through to somebody. If you do get through to somebody, you're on a wait list for maybe a couple of weeks, et cetera, until somebody can come out and actually service that your needs. And I said, well, what other options are there? And then I saw Angie and Home Advisor, which was Service Magic at the time, and I was like, okay, this is a possible solution, but what are they doing wrong? And I want to be a differentiator in this. And what I found was, they're taking, as a consumer, your information and selling it to contractors and other service professionals. Well, privacy minded and safe, a safe environment for me as a consumer. I don't want to get blown up 20 times a day by multiple companies that just bought a lead, and they're relentless, right? And they're going to continue to call you until you just say stop calling me or block their number or any of those things. And I said, well, I think a big differentiator in the marketplace that Get 3 Bids wants to be is privacy, and we will not provide personal information to contractors and sell that as a lead. We feel that the consumer, if we provide them with the reviews, the ratings, the materials and qualifications that a contractor brings or a service provider brings, that's enough due diligence that you can make a decision on who you want to move forward with. And at that point, we can unlock the consumer's information to the contractor or service provider that they've chosen to move forward with. So really, it's a different way to think about it. But we also want it to be smart, right? And so through different iterations of Get 3 Bids, we sent out mailers that had 3 bids inside, found that insurance pricing was much higher than what homeowners expected to pay. So that, kind of fell on its face, sticker shock, right, from consumers. And so, just looking at it and saying, okay, well, how can we, make this work? And talking to the contractors, we did actually get some projects to fruition. And we found that contractors didn't want to spend 20 minutes per bid, writing those bids, evaluating the measurements, going through those same issues that, I have to calculate these formulas to get this bid out. I have to do this. If I brought them 100, different opportunities, they got to write 100 bids. Now on the flip side, the consumer doesn't want to wait for multiple contractors to write multiple bids and then have those delivered, if it's a week or whatever that we're waiting on that contractor to give us a bid. So we said, how can we actually, bring a new service? So we spun up bidtech.io to be the intermediary, but a solution, right, to both sides. And we said, well, if we help contractors automate their processes and give them a cloud system that works and that communicates and does things for them on stage transitions and on checkboxes, what kind of difference would that actually bring to the consumer in the marketplace? Well, I saw immediately that by automating contractors, we're getting those bids out faster on request, and that the consumers are receiving those bids just as fast as those automations can run. And so that's why we started up bidtech.io. And then, out of the blue, here comes generative AI and all the capabilities of AI and all the systems. And we said, wow, now we want to be a smart marketplace. Now we want to, build on top of this new technology and enable contractors, but also enable consumers to get even more out of the technology that's available today. So here we are.
Coach, what do you got? You got any questions?
I got lots of questions. First and foremost, in a prior life, a couple of decades or more ago, I also had a claims background. And on my family experience board back here, there's one photo on there taken with my old claims Polaroid. So you took me back talking about the claims Polaroid. That was fun. But yeah, one picture back there is that old with the Polaroid. But when you're talking about this, and on bidtech, for example, the website, it shows how automation can help your life in a lot of different ways. But one of the lines that you use on the website that I just thought might be fun to start out with here is you've got a line that says you can use the automation and AI to feel more human.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that and what that means for consumer and the business owner.
Sure.
What a play on the mind too, right, Coach?
Yeah, it's a good line. It's a really good line.
Thank you. And I won't take credit for that. My team is great, like-minded individuals that always contribute, and that actually came from one of my team members. But the thought behind that, and it goes into, there's so many micro distractions and micro functions that we have to do on our own. Like when you say, hey, I'll send you a DocuSign. Well, that in itself is just expressing that I have to go to DocuSign. I have to create this contract. I have to send that out to you. And now you have to, fill in your information, sign off on it. But on top of that, I also have to email you. I'll send you an email. I'll send you a text. I'll send you something. I have to go update my CRM. I have to go, make some of these so many small micro interactions that it takes away from you as a human and what you're best at, right? Well, I was from a sales background. If I had to bring in a sale, well, I just put on top of my shoulders a whole lot of tasks and to-do lists, right? That I have to manually do myself. So when we think about automation, intelligent automation at that, great example, I had a spreadsheet that I needed to extract from the link, the actual, and separate into two columns from the link, the link itself, but I also wanted to keep the record in the cell. And I said, well, this is going to take me 60,000 clicks to do that. I asked one of my RPA, robotic process automation engineers, if he could help me solve this. And literally 3 minutes later, he had all of it done. And it was just a wow. It was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. I can feel like a human again. I can actually continue and focus on the other things that are more important rather than, trying to separate out a spreadsheet or now, when we get into the AI conversation and some of the tools that I'll share, we'll get to see more profoundly how these systems are taking those burdens off of our shoulders and allowing us to do more.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sometimes when you get stuck in that loop of doing all of those routine tasks, you do feel like an automaton. You don't feel very human when you're going through some of those things. So that's pretty cool. And I do like the way you worded that. So kudos to the team. Now, a lot of folks that are frequent viewers, listeners of our show here are entrepreneurs, small business, medium business owners, that kind of thing. And you kind of touched on it a little bit, and so did DJ, but there's a lot of challenges there when it comes to just, I don't even know how to use it, where it could mean the most of the business. I don't know what it's going to cost. I'm afraid because it's something totally different. So, how do they navigate, and how do you navigate that landscape to kind of help them focus in on what they need?
Yeah. So I look at software systems and, as they should do more to solve problems with their clients. So white glove service is really important to me. Working with those individuals, understanding their current processes, and a lot of times having a consulting / implementation partner, they can really find the things that you're not seeing and bring those to light, and then bring solutions and fit those in really easily to say, okay, well, you haven't used a system like this before, but if we run a test and we stress test this and we actually go through the motions, we can actually define and A/B test and see what those outcomes are. And if those outcomes are positive and we have advancements, it's something that's not only going to affect your business, it's going to affect your employees, with their engagement and their happiness, and ultimately affect your consumer or your customer client, and increase their engagement and their happiness. So looking at the overall spectrum of what is this and how does it work, and implementing just little use cases here and there, it can be a small thing, and then lead to much more, and actually enable everyone to have a better experience after all. And I think that's what we're all after in business anyway.
With the get 3 bids, how quickly are you able to get 3 bids out through the system now?
Yeah, so we're still under construction with the smart marketplace, and we're going to continue developing there. We made some changes, and to answer your question, with automation of contractors and service providers, it's going to be instantaneous. So we set up their backend to know their pricing models, know all of their nuances to their company, and we want to just have the end user click a button, request a bid, it transfer over to the APIs to that contractor, it bring back the output of what they're requesting. So it's really seamless, and not a lot of time gap between what we want. Now, the smart side of that, we want to get into other ways rather than having to log into a system. I know for fact that we have more phone calls, more text messages than we do Zoom calls, than we do emails, than we do like on a day-to-day basis. We still operate under a phone call, right? When something's important, get on the phone, ask the questions, get an outcome, make a decision, move on to the next thing. So we're looking to bring in and solve for communication on a big scale, large scale.
So I guess in this case, we can look at this as an ability to automate the routine so that we free up time to have more meaningful conversations.
Yeah, and focus on relationships, right? And get the functionality out of the way, and have a clear path to getting what I was looking for as a client or a consumer quickly and efficiently.
It's just that more. Again, I think to really shrink down what Johnny said in a nutshell, to me, what it meant and what it means to me is it's bringing back the more human interaction to what needs done and getting rid of the busy work. I think we as especially business owners, we get stuck in the busy work because we don't want to focus where we know time needs to be. And I think, but I think in life, whether you're a business owner or anything, it's cutting down and being able to automate, and it's shout out to Dan, and I kind of mentioned this, I think, to Johnny when we talked earlier, but ADD, automate, delegate, delete. I mean, again, the goal, and Coach talked about this with the E-Myth, but it's you want to work on the business, not in the business. And so the more what AI is allowing you to do is get rid of all that busy work that something else can do for, and just as good, and have you be able to work more on that human stuff that we really should be focusing on, which is relationships, which is talking to people, which is not being afraid of people. So yeah, I love the mission of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you said early on too that this had been kind of the area that was dominated through Fortune 500 and large companies. So now we're talking about applying it to to smaller and medium-sized businesses. So how cost effective is it going to be? What type of an investment is it going to really take for someone like me in a small business to really get the most out of something like this?
Yeah, so it's all about what systems, what things you want to solve for, right? AI is not a one system. It's many systems coming together, as I explained earlier. But what are those use cases? If it's presentations that are custom to your clients, that's a tool, right? And that's a tool that you're going to pay for, and that's a system that will continue as long as you want to use that tool. If you want to integrate that tool into other workflows, well, now we're looking at your overall system. What CRM system are you using? Does that CRM have REST APIs where it can call on data? It can make changes to your system, triggers, et cetera, that you're going to have the ability to push that. Now, those CRM systems, as we know, Salesforce you can pay for, which is extremely expensive in most cases. There's other systems such as Zoho, which is, absolutely a great cloud system that brings, and reduces your costs significantly. I mentioned DocuSign. Well, if you go to Zoho, they have Zoho Sign, they have Zoho Social, they have Zoho CRM, they have Zoho Meetings. So you're getting rid of Zoom. You're getting rid of, hate to say this, most people love QuickBooks, but you can get rid of QuickBooks even if you work with Zoho Books, for instance. But bringing all that into a cloud, bringing it into one system where you can actually, change the mechanisms on your own. You don't have to wait for a software provider to make those changes. If you have engineers that you can pick up for, to do the work for you, you can start to iterate and make those changes and advances, almost immediately, which is a huge benefit to most small businesses that want to get started. And you're paying one user fee versus 12 monthly user fees. So that in itself may decrease your monthly spend. AI systems, there's great AI systems out there for many use cases. A lot of those are actually affordable at the personal level. If you just want to do something with creative, if you want to do something for customer facing, but you definitely want to have a budget in mind, what you're willing to spend on a project and what it's going to bring you back. So if it's going to save your say front end team from qualifications, and you're paying, let's say, 2 individuals $50,000 a year to pre-qualify leads, well, essentially you're paying $100,000 for 1 year, but over 5 years you're paying $500,000 plus, right, with time off and some of those other attributed factors. Well, with a AI system, it doesn't take time off. It doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't, cost you more money, for giving those people that you had in place only the qualified customers that they should talk to versus calling out on a phone line when they're calling and not getting an answer. You're still paying for that time versus when you have a system that AI can call out, you're paying for the connected time. You're paying for the the live transfer to an agent, and that's really beneficial, I think, in the long term, to see that you're actually reducing your costs, even though you're taking that reduction in costs and reinvesting it into tools that are going to advance you or your company.
The tools have gotten so much better. I think we've all been at that position where we've got the cell phone in our hand and we're screaming, operator, operator, because we just want to talk to somebody. But those aren't the kind of systems you're talking about. These are very iterative and just amazing, intelligent systems. Can you talk a little bit about the difference in what intelligent automation is and kind of some of that non-intelligent and very frustrating automation some of us are used to?
Yeah. So a lot of use cases, like you expressed, let me talk to an agent. It's going to keep going through its progression, right? It was scripted to say this thing. It's only going to say this thing, whether you like it or not. What's the, I'm calling about your auto warranty or we've all got that call 1,000 times, right? Well, you can't ask that system, well, what's the benefits of this auto warranty, and expect it to respond to you. Whereas now with voice AI, you can ask those questions and get a real response, from that system, instead of having to take the time of a representative. LLMs, large language models, are very capable to answer, general questions, and which cuts down on your responses that you have to make as a human, but also to have the customer really understand, like, yeah, okay, I do want to move forward because now I have more insight into what I wanted to know, and if by answering that question, it makes it easier to transition them into what is absolutely a hot lead, and so hopefully that answers your question there, Craig.
Yeah, so it's able to, it goes the next step. So it actually answers questions instead of just gathers information from the caller.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, DJ, jump in, man. I've been monopolizing the time here.
No, no. I mean, honestly, it's just amazing stuff. What it can really do. I mean, and just some use cases to get into how small business. I mean, it could be a call center for you. If maybe you're going for a lower cost lead that needs more qualified, which again, and we touched on our background was home services. Mine, I worked for a lot of small, either versions of a franchise like Roto-Rooter, something like that, or their own franchise, like a company called Bright Covers, or Universal Windows Direct. But they all follow the same strategy, which I think is again just a what new business owners then just begin to learn, and it's print, it's certain very basic things that it come with a high cost that the system has been, I think, structured that you have to be a certain level to even afford the kind of advertising that some of these companies need to spend to get. Yeah, Gary Vee talks a lot about this, and that's where I think Gary Vee's on the cutting edge of this as well. But it's understanding that the cost per lead, until you can figure that out and understand the value of what your employees and how you can make up the difference. And so and that's the only way these companies grow. And with using AI and this stuff, whether it's a call center, well, whether it's like Johnny said, qualifying a lead, now you can go to lower lead sources. Alex Hormozy shares a lot of, like Johnny was talking about, connecting systems, multiple systems to when. So if you use something like Google Sheets, which is free, Zapier, which has a certain cost, and just a basic CRM. Zoho would be obviously a great source. Now you integrate those, and as like Johnny said, they're that customer from a Facebook ad, and Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot, all the time. Giving this away to anybody who's looking out for the information, but there is very low cost ads that you can get. Now they're not extremely qualified, but that's where something like AI now can get you that better qualified lead for a more affordable cost. And now you're playing ball with the big guys. You don't need a $500,000 call center that's qualifying these leads with really good, call the best call center agents, and then have a inside sales team. AI can do a lot of that and get you that same level playing field that you now have the advantage. And that's where I think this changes the game for especially the home services. Again, a lot of the franchises that we work with, a lot of the different brands that even loyalty brands has. I mean, they can you can really cut down the cost and play ball with the big guys with this stuff, with using this stuff.
Yeah, and we were talking about all-encompassing systems. That's kind of what we highlighted last week with Client Tether, because it had the call center aspect, the CRM, the sales side of things, and it was really big on data analytics. So, Johnny, what can you tell us about using these AI tools for getting more analysis of the data that's being collected?
Great question.
Yeah, that is a great question, and I see a future where you're analyzing calls even after it goes from the conversation with the AI system to your live agent, and your live agent is probably one of your best salespeople that's taking that call, especially on a hot lead. And if I'll take a step back, when a client clicks and submits a form, this AI system can pick up and trigger, now make that call out to that lead immediately, instead of it being 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 hours later, which is really hitting home and able to grab the attention of that customer and service that lead, but also engage your human sales agent with that customer on qualification. But we'll go back and say, if you have the systems in place, now you can trigger an email, a text message, the phone call, all of the things that need to go out immediately to grab that customer and really move the needle for yourself and your company on response time and on engagement, and then looking at the analytics of the sales agent. Now we can say, okay, what were the 10 largest or the 10 most objections in our calls? Well, out of the 10, here are the top 5. Okay, these are the top 5 objections. Who was the best on my team at handling those objections, and what were those responses? And so now we can gear up the way in which to respond to those, and give the sales manager really insight into seeing, okay, these are what they're saying, this is the responses they're getting. We're actually seeing the the client's responses, and that are now ready to engage, and they were able to flip that. And so you can, if you record those and you analyze those responses and label the responses, AI can grab those responses and actually categorize them. And now you may have just deeper analytics on the conversation itself, with even sentiment analysis, where you can see who's engaging customers properly versus who's losing at the battle over the communication. So I think understanding your team better, I think understanding the clients for who they are and what they ask and what they request and what they want really moves the needle there. And you can shape that up and really define what are the best practices with these systems, where before you would actually literally have to sit on call after call after call and write down note after note after note. Now you're getting transcriptions automated after the call. You're getting those focal points. You can even have a word cloud that pops up with the highest complaints of your customers. And if you can solve those complaints for them now, they don't make it to Google, right? They don't make it to these other platforms where you're going to get a bad review because you weren't responding the right way to those clients.
I think that's just excellent example of how to use this. The and DJ, this is like 3 times 3 shows in a row or something where speed to lead keeps coming back as being kind of important. So anybody listening, you might want to highlight the importance of getting back to your leads really quick. But so years and years ago, my background is technology, but I was implementing systems to do the similar thing, but from a support standpoint. We were putting in knowledge bases and issue trackers and things like that, and even creating dashboards with red, green, yellow lights and different things. It was still so manual. So I'm sitting here listening to this thinking, oh God, this life would have been so much easier having this automated and having it right in your face without the manual step of having to go in and monitor. I had 24-hour around the clock manpower just monitoring a dashboard. And it sounds like to me that's probably not the way we would have to do things anymore.
Yeah, it's really evolving and changing the whole landscape of what we used to have to do, or what we only dreamed of that we could do, is now coming to light, and it's at your fingertips, which is obviously the best way to be able to consume that and operate, is having everything you need to know right there when you need it.
Now, I know, DJ, I know we wanted to kind of talk through some examples, but I got one more question before we get too far along.
Yeah.
So what I just described myself doing, that was a long time ago. I've forgotten more about technology than I remember at this point. So I'm kind of like a tech idiot now. So someone who may be struggling a little bit with the technology, and I am a small business and I want to bring some of these things in, how tough is this going to be to manage?
Yeah. So your processes, right? And you know what you want to deliver, you have ideas. Maybe you don't have the tools yet to do those things. But working with individuals and partners that already understand the tech side makes it easier for you. You don't have to go out and find, do your research on all of these different tools and all of these different things. If you bring a problem or, a complication that you're having in your system back to someone like myself, and my team, we're going to come to you with the solution in hand. Like, here's what's your problem. Here's the use case, and here's the solution to solve for that starting today. If you're ready to make that commitment, we'll go ahead and move forward implementing this into your systems for you. we'll let you test it. We'll test it with you. We'll go through all of those, scenarios where it could go either way. And we'll lay out the outcomes before you even launch it. You're going to get to see the functionality. You're going to get to see how it works, and provide feedback if maybe you don't like the way this system updates you in one mechanism, but you would prefer to have that in, say, a company communication channel to update you of this occurrence happening. One use case that I see is pretty prevalent. You have a sales team, and your sales team is going out to service customers at their homes, right? Well, generally speaking, before this technology, you're going to call and ask, hey man, how's your day going? How many appointments have you run? What was the outcomes? Now you're looking at a system at your fingertips, and you get a notification. Hey, sales reps on their way to the appointment. They've arrived at their appointment. They've completed their appointment. Here's the outcome of their appointment. Guess what? You don't have to do anymore. You don't have to make the call and ask them, hey, what are you doing today? It's all recorded there in sequential steps. So you're always kept abreast of what's going on with your team from a high level view. Well, that takes away from having to micromanage a team, which means you're not calling them all day long. But on the reverse side, now you can have an AI system that's going to call you as the business owner and give you an update at the end of the day that says, hey, out of your companies, these are the top performers. This is what was generated from company A, B, and C, or location A, B, and C. And then here's the results this month versus last month, or quarter by quarter, et cetera, and give you those details directly from the CRM system. And that's a pretty huge advantage.
So field sales reps aren't always the happiest at entering data or trying to go in and fill in the notes from a service call or a sales call or whatever. How can we make it easier for them to collect and put the data there for us to analyze, so that we get the buy-in from their side too?
I'm glad you asked that question. I actually love this use case. I feel that logging into a CRM system while you're on a roof, per se, is not only dangerous and time consuming, but if I had AirPods in and I had AI contact me, it knew I was on site doing my inspection, and it progressively asked me for input that I'm giving it through my AirPod voice, never once logging into a system, and it updating those records for me. I'm just saying, hey, there's 4 2-inch pipe jacks, there's 2 skylights, there's 20 feet of ridge vent, etc. That's updating in real time. And then it asks me, hey, do you want to create a quote? Absolutely, yes, move forward, right? And so it's running that trigger, creating that quote. Would you like to have me send that over to you for your review? Yes. Check my email real quick. Okay, quote looks good. Would you like to send it? Yes. Send it over. Sent to the homeowner, sent to you. Any follow-up actions after call really works well. And it's really just taking advantage of the systems and the APIs and the technology for what its use cases are.
Okay, DJ, bookmark, frame, whatever we have to do to save that, because that was gold right there. I hope anybody that either is or runs a field sales team, that is huge.
Right? I mean, it can not only can it input that stuff, it can answer questions for them. Hey, I'm noticing this on the roof. I've never seen this before. It can tell you.
Another use case. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't have to take out the phone and log in. It's all just happening through the AirPod. I dig it. That's cool.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to something is probably the best way to go. I think less bottlenecks.
Well, if you want buy-in, if you want them to actually give you the data you need, you've got to make it as easy for them as you can make it.
Well, and again, I mean, you said it a few times, speed to lead, coach. But what that all comes down to is time, and we talk about it all the time on here. But that's we all, regardless of how rich or poor you are, we all have 24 hours in a day. Like, it doesn't matter where you live, you have 24 hours in a day, just like I do. So what we are able to use our time for is where the value comes out. And so if you're able to skip a lot of this busy stuff as a small business owner, now you can have a business and really have a life. And now that is, again, that's what the game of life is about, to me. So this is really just allowing you to create that heaven on earth a lot faster.
Well, and let's go back to that storm situation. I'm on that roof. I've probably got 15 more I need to do before the sun goes down. Who wants to go sit in the car and spend 30 minutes entering stuff into a laptop?
Right.
Nobody.
No, nobody does. Yeah.
And it's really nice when you set up the sequential order of creating those quotes. You didn't have to fill out your paper and write in their address and their name and all of the information about them. It's pre-populated from your data in your system. The same with a contract. Whether you have 6 different ways in which that you're going to charge a customer, a client, based on what type of project it is, what the size of the project is, all of that can be done for you in the background. And so when you run that process, it knows, it says, okay, this is this type of project for this amount. Let's go ahead and insert these terms into the contract with a breakdown of what their payment schedule is going to be, how we expect to get paid, with a link to be paid. So you don't have to drive out and collect a check every single time. I can't tell you how many hours I spent in a vehicle running around just collecting checks to bring them back to an office to turn in a paper check when there's so much better mechanisms today for easily capturing ACH payments or card payments.
Hey, Johnny, did you want me to share that video? We got about 15 minutes left. So you want to get into that?
Let's go through voice AI demo first.
Okay.
Because that's going to segue into the video I shared with you to share with our audience here today. And it's all around communication and as many ways in which we can add easier communication to the process. It's going to be a benefit. So this use case is going to be for solar.
And you're showing voice AI, correct?
Yeah, this is voice AI.
All right, so I'll put that up. So this is what he is going to be the example of right now, y'all.
Hi, this is your trusted solar installation advisor. Before I connect you with one of our skilled technicians, could you please share your zip code?
Can you give me just a second, please?
Of course. Take your time. Just let me know when you're ready to proceed.
Okay, I'm ready to proceed. I have a question, though.
Sure. I'm here to help. What's your question?
How does solar actually help reduce my monthly power bill?
Solar energy can help reduce your monthly power bill in a few ways. When you have solar panels installed on your property, they generate electricity from the sun's energy. This means that you can use the electricity produced by the solar panels to power your home, reducing the amount of electricity you need to purchase from the grid. Additionally, if your solar panels produce more electricity than you consume, the excess energy can be fed back into the grid through a process called net metering. This allows you to earn credits or receive compensation for the excess energy you contribute, further reducing your overall electricity costs. Would you like to proceed with providing your zip code and discussing your solar options?
Yes, my zip code's 37127.
Got it. Your zip code is 37127. Are you currently a homeowner or do you have permission from the owner?
I'm currently a homeowner.
Perfect. What type of home do you have? Is it a single family home, apartment, condo, or multifamily? This will help us understand the specifics of your property and provide you with the most suitable solar solutions.
Single family.
Great. If you know, what is your current credit score? It's perfectly fine if you don't have the exact number handy. Even an estimate will suffice. This will enable us to explore the financing options that may be available to you.
It's around 700.
That's fantastic. With a credit score of around 700, you have some great financing options available to you. One last question. Could you please share the amount of your most recent electricity bill? Understanding your energy consumption will assist us in designing a solar solution that meets your needs and maximizes your savings.
Yeah, it's about $300 a month.
Great. Based on your credit score and electricity bill, I have all the information I need. I'm now going to connect you with one of our dedicated solar installation technicians who will be delighted to assist you further. Please stay on the line.
Okay, don't really want to connect to a solar agent, but we can see some very profound usability here. So your thoughts, guys?
So, well, let's just dig into that just a little bit. So now when it goes to the agent, what does the agent see?
The agent's going to see the transcription of the call, those highlighted points. So all the questions it asks, they're going to see those responses. So they're going to immediately see the bill, right? The monthly bill, the credit score, the type of home, whether or not they're the homeowner. So you've qualified all of the qualifying questions out of the way. Now you're able to actually work with that consumer to, come up with a plan for them, for their home, schedule that in-home demo if you need to, virtual demo, etc. So really cool.
And so I guess with whatever our service-based business is in this example, we just kind of learn what are the qualifying questions. We learn the possible iterations that could go from asking those questions, and how does that get fed into the system?
Even intent, right? So with labeling of that conversation and those keywords, bringing that back into your system is really just a platform where you're seeing the responses, you're seeing all of these calls, even having the ability for live whisper and call barge and some of those systems. If you have a telephony system in your company, it can be tied into that and IVR and some of those use cases.
And how about regional kind of things? So like when at Liberty we had, all across North America, thousands of locations, and we would have a call center. And sometimes there would be some complaints that, maybe one of our Southerners was calling up into the Northeast or vice versa. And you could tell that even though the phone number might say it was local, it ain't local. Right. So how do you get around those kind of things because that voice sounded very natural. It was, it sounds really
amazing,
good.
Right?
It's amazing. So, but how do you get around something like that? That one sounded pretty neutral. But what if I want somebody that sounds like a redneck like myself?
Good question. Synthetic voice is another AI piece of AI where you could have 100 different voices. That you wanted to incorporate, and you say, okay, and for this zip code, which was the first question she asked, right? So this is touching on two points here. One, it can pick up that this is the area it's supposed to transfer to this person or this unit for that area or that region. So you're not getting those other callers outside of your area. That's one of the answers. The second part is, if it's in the South, I want a Southern speaking person more than likely. If it's up North, I want to have somebody with a Northern accent, somebody that I feel is local, right? If you're in Louisiana, that might be a little tough to get synthetic to, carry that, dialect. But there's so many options and opportunities there. Let's say you wanted a soft voice on the front end of a deal, and you want more of a stern voice on the back end of a deal, say for collections, something like that. That's a possibility. To have those differences and make those changes.
He says it's not magic, DJ, but it's magic.
No.
It is magic.
It's easier to train an AI model than it is to train a human. In most cases, at least for these use cases anyway. If I was going to train someone for rebuttal, to rebuttal an objection, right? That's going to take much practice, like in the mirror, one-on-one, training classes, etc. But prompt engineering, gives us the ability to give specific requirements, give specific guidelines for the model to adhere to. And, that also keeps it from deviating into other, conversations.
Into emotion. Just say it. I mean, really, that's what it is. It keeps the emotion out of it. And just keeps them on script because again, humans, we have emotion. That's just always going to, in the end, that's where the commission breath comes from. That's where you can feel those things. Those are the subtle things that you can only get from a human. That's where the phone call still needs to happen. That's where that interpersonal connection needs to happen, but not in those beginning phases when you're just evaluating. And that's where I think AI is the cheat to that. Because again, it is emotion. In a sale in the end is just a transfer of emotion. I've heard so many salespeople that they say that in a basic sales training, and then they just gloss over that. But that really is, when it comes down to it, it's knowing, liking, and trusting, and that's why we're talking about voice. And being, if they're from where you're at, if it's a local business, it's a lot easier to do business with them than again, you talked about the Liberty and the call centers. We know when call centers really were big and first came out, they were all from India, so they're all sounding the same way. Everybody's like, well, I want somebody to sound like me. So then just the companies like Verizon that started paying attention to that feedback, they're having local call centers, but from the areas, because you want to know, like, trust. That's just going to be a sale. If you don't, sometimes even the best deal on pricing, y'all, you can go as low as you want, but if they don't like you or trust you, it doesn't matter. They're not buying no matter what. And that's the emotion. And that's where I think, again, those beginning phases, the qualifying, all that stuff in a process that a lot of small businesses get held up in, AI can work you through that without some of
Before we get
the.
to the video, let me ask you this: the so many people that call service businesses, they pick up the phone, and the number one thing they're going to ask is how much. That they're price shopping, and so it's one thing for the business owner to say, "I like this idea. This is going to help me a lot." How about getting the adoption rate for the users, the customers as they're calling? How is that? Do they seem to be taking to it pretty well, or how is that going?
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense for the business. Use case. You're not really dependent on humans to make those calls and reach out. You have a system doing it, so it's beneficial in the sense that if it does its job, you're paying for it. If it doesn't connect and it doesn't do anything, you're not paying any additional fee for that service, but it's getting done for you. And as a business owner, you want to make sure that you're continuously, doing the thing that you intend to do every time without missing a beat, right? I can ask someone to, hey, please make these calls. Maybe they get through 20 calls in the day, but then they get sidetracked with something else. And now the rest of the day, those calls that should have been made weren't getting done. That's going to cost me money at the end of the day. And I want to eliminate as much of that as I can, while still employing these people to do what they do very well. And
I guess it's part of the analytics. You're looking at maybe hangups or disconnects or things like that to make sure we can tweak the script, so to speak, so that we're getting the right thing out there.
Absolutely. And doing that, it just takes a little time to look at that, assess that, and change those scripts and allow it to have a system. Go ahead.
Speaking on scripts, can I use multiple scripts to test out to see this versus that? We're getting a better response.
A/B testing, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to segue into that next video that you want to share here.
Yeah. It's we'll share that before we end up.
Voice is one aspect, and that's from a phone call, right? Either you pick up, you decline it, you don't answer. There's voicemail capabilities here to drop a voicemail from the AI, letting them know what's going on. But when you actually have customers clicking on your link, going to your website, you want to have the same interaction and the same ability to work with a client there that you are on your phone side. Same with text, whether that's a WhatsApp business line or text message to a AI chatbot, which is not the same as the old school chatbots that are just going to give you a pre-formulated, if you say this, then it's going to say this. It's actually going to come up with generative information and to give you to answer your questions in the chat side. But I want to share the online version here that you could see this as a use case in your website even. So
all right, let's I'll get it going right now.
Hi there, I'm Jack, your AI digital assistant at Predict Insure. How can I help you today, Laura?
Hi. Yeah, I just saw my bank statement and saw that I'm making monthly payments to you guys of $65. Can you tell me what it's for?
Absolutely. Give me a moment. I've had a look and that payment is for your car insurance on your Volvo CX-90. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. While I have you, I see your renewal is coming up in 6 weeks. I can offer you a 5% discount if you renew it now. Would you like me to extend it?
Why not?
Before I go ahead, I see you don't have windshield coverage for things like accidental chips and cracks on your windshield. We currently have a special offer if you add it to your renewal. The regular price is $32, but if you do it now, I can add full glass coverage for only $22.40.
I do travel on some quite rough roads, so yes, let's add that.
Great. We're all done. You take care now.
Thanks. Bye.
So
I'm ready to augment my voice and accent. I want to sound like that dude. That was he sounds smart.
Yes, he does, and he was on it. But that is the power there. The customer service there, everything that you can really get from that, and the realness because it looked like a real person talking.
yeah, I mean, most people are going to know it's an avatar, right?
Of course.
And that's okay. As long as the avatar is doing its function and its job and providing relevant information and giving options, to make changes in a system, like that's what the future is in any of our interactions and engagements with businesses. It's not going backwards at all by any means, and it's definitely not going to not happen. This is everything that is going to happen, and the ones that adopt this early are going to have the competitive edge over their market. And I want to be a part of that, as an option and a provider and just a teammate. It's man, it's very exciting to be a part of it, and I'm glad to hear.
It really is an amazing time we live in. But there's still, we've been talking small and medium businesses. There's some for pretty large ones that are facing the same challenge. My cable company is a pretty well-known cable company. I wanted to add NFL Red Zone, and I go to the website let me just go add it. You can't.
Right.
There's not an easy process to do it unless you get to an actual person to do it, and that's not something that requires human interaction. Just give me a solution. And so it's a challenge for a lot of businesses that are out there. But for small service-based businesses, man, just imagine the time saving, DJ. We always go back to time, but just imagine the time saving of automating these things.
I mean, the freedom that it can give, and the ability. A lot of the companies I worked with and for, and even working with now, the cost per lead, their cost is so high that they really can, if they can drive that down, just by using some of this AI and some of this tech to do some of that qualifying, and just get more of a bigger source lead that isn't so targeted but can qualify by using tech. I mean, that's the advantage. That's the way you get, again, just knowing there's no tricks anymore. Sales, I feel like for the longest time was all about tricks. The old school sales guys of, oh, I went to Dale Carnegie and this whole, again, look this way and they look this way, and if they talk high, you talk high, and if they talk with a low voice, if they talk slow, you talk slow. Like in the end, it's mind control, y'all, and nobody's falling for it anymore. It doesn't work, so you really just have to connect. And I think that's where this just allows you to get through some of that basic stuff that nobody wants to talk to you. So like Johnny said, you can have more than meaningful conversation. Okay, tell me what's really going on. Okay, we got through the BS of, you don't want to hear me ask about your credit score, you don't want to hear me ask about all that stuff. We got through all that. You're qualified. You're now, what are we dealing with? And really get to talk to somebody. That's really where we get rushed. That's where salespeople get rushed. Okay, I got to spend this much time on a CRM. Now I got to input this information so the office knows this, and I got to do this and this. And there's so many steps that this just allows you to do more.
Well, I mean, sure, there's so much time involved because there's always whatever the percentage is, there's always a percentage of just rotten leads, and just being able to get through the ones that I wouldn't want to spend time talking to anyway, that weren't real leads. That's worth a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And again, it just allows that in the end, a business, whether you're a big business, small business, big name, trying to start a big business, what it comes down to is who knows you and who knows what you're doing. Like that's really what it comes down to. You can have the best product, you can have the best next wheel, but if nobody knows you have it, if it's not out there and people don't know it, then it doesn't really matter. And
That was our
that's
first show. That was our first ever show, DJ. That was David Perez. He said it's not the best that's going to win; it's the most known,
yeah, that's it.
loudest, the most known.
The loudest, and that's what we're trying to do, y'all. That's so, Johnny, thank you for getting this out there. Thank you for joining us for all the tech. Again, guys, let them know where they can find you, how they can reach out to you if they want to work on their system or take their system to the next level.
Sure. LinkedIn, Facebook. You go to www.bidtech.io. Reach us there. I know we're both going to post up a link, for fans of the show. Please hit the link if you're interested. We have some cool forms that you can go through and give us a little insight into your company and what use cases you want to, progress with. And obviously reach out direct if you'd like to have a conversation. But yeah, thank you guys so much for doing this for the industry and multiple industries. It appears, home service, franchising, and more. And with apps, bidtech, bidtech. And it's just look forward to helping as many people as we can, companies likewise. And thank you again for having me on today.
Awesome. Thanks, man. And when you guys go to the bidtech site, it's not just business. It's going to tell you how to use this technology to make your own personal life a little easier and better too. So you can be more human. That's cool.
And Trisha, I see it's not Vintech, bidtech here. I'll pop this back up. It's going to be actually at the bottom of this picture as well. You can see it. See it a little bit right there. bidtech.io. So voice AI was what we demoed there live for y'all. Again, we gave some ideas of how it can really help, whether it's just qualifying leads or call center or helping your sales team just know what to say next. It really can help take your business to the next level. And what we want is to free up your time, because again, the goal of our and mission of the Robinhood Capitalists, we want to help 10,000 families create their heaven on earth. And again, doing what you love with who you love is heaven on earth. Financial freedom or harmony is the only missing step for most people. It's not as big as it needs to be, or not as much as you might think. But this will allow you to get that freedom of time, which really time is. You hear everybody say it. That I've listened to enough studies. I've heard enough studies. Last wishes and most people's last regrets are the things they didn't do or didn't spend time with, which is usually friends, family, and relationships. It's usually relationships, y'all. So, again, Johnny nailed it with meaningful relationships. It's all about time. So, spend time. Uh, Spend the time doing the stuff that should be important to you, which is your
And not the
relationship.
mundane that can be automated.
That's right.
Automate, delegate, delete, y'all. ADD. If you have ADHD, ADD, if you got automate, delegate, delete. Just get rid of it and work on you, y'all. Until Thursday, Coach. Again, Johnny, thank you for joining us, Coach. Can't wait to break this down and get a little bit into this on Thursday. So for y'all who are catching us, me and Coach will break this down, get a little deeper of use cases and ideas and what we think this can really help, from coaching like Coach is doing now to franchising to whatever. We'll really get into the nuts and bolts of where we think this can help give you that fighting chance and be the slingshot that you need for the Goliath you might be facing. So until Thursday, y'all, feed the goodwill.
See you Thursday.
I'm always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about getting paid. I'm just an